I'll edit. Oh, I should probably turn the lights on.
I
There.
love it.
I like it better when Lyles does this with me, but I don't want to forget anything. But we are recording. We got a backup. I almost forgot to take my hair out of my heatless curls, and I was like, you know what? That would be great for my YouTube followers to just sit there and watch me with my heatless curls. But I
I
ended
was
up
gonna
taking.
say your curls are on fire. Like they
Yeah,
are lit.
it's a fresh wash and cray curls. Cray curls is what I call
They
them.
look good for a Friday morning, friend.
It's so funny because if you've been on my Instagram, for some reason, sometimes my wash day is Sunday, and I wake up Monday morning with like nothing to do, and it's Monday, and my hair is like fire, and I'm like, such a waste.
I am so envious of those of you who can wash your hair like once or twice a week. I want to
Yeah,
get to that point, but right now I'm an every 2 or 3 dayer. So
that's not bad. That's not bad, but
yeah,
still, yeah, I know my hair is crazy. It's like it does what I want. I can't lie. Sometimes I can get away with 5 days with dry shampoo. Hmm. Okay, so, everything's recording. You sound great. You look great.
got
Um,
my pink I bought this hot pink new
I
blazer
love
and
it.
pants set.
Yeah.
I'm on point. I'm on point. Shout out to Little Miss Bella. I'm gonna rep the pink today. And I don't
Oh,
usually wear pink, Kyla, because I didn't think I looked good in it, but it turns out it's pretty fire.
aw. Oh, it is fire, especially with your hair. My goodness. My
Thank you.
goodness. Okay. All right. I am ready to rock and roll. I have my little notes and we'll have a chat. I'll do like my intro and then we'll get chatting. And I'll make sure my phone is off so it doesn't bleep on us.
Yeah,
Don't bleep
ditto.
in my don't bleep in my ear or my watch. Shush. Shush watch. I got my coffee. Ah. I usually do podcasts at night, so it's like nice to like have like a morning coffee while we chat.
I have the whole day today. My house is clean. My kids are at school. It's like just gonna be a good Friday. I'm
Yes.
excited to start this off. And it's like,
Aw.
yeah, my favorite day to hop on and do things like this. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I got this morning and then I'm sub teaching this afternoon at Wayland's school. So I get to teach my little kiddo this afternoon.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pumped. Okay, I will start with my intro and don't mind me because I like to read. I have things written down mostly as like a just in case, but also like the night before, like when I'm prepping, I think of things and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to forget to say that." So I always write it
Yeah.
down.
All
But
good. I'm
anyway,
good.
and make sure my mic doesn't fall over on me. Sometimes Lala and I are like in the middle of talking and our mics are like, meow. Okay.
That's funny.
Okay. Here we go. Intro time. So, today's guest is someone whose heart led mission inspires me deeply. My friend Laura
Mm.
Lawrence is the founder of Youth Matter Canada, a powerful voice for mental health advocacy, a speaker, a mother, a multi time author, and the host of Heart Talk podcast. She's walking the walk when it comes to creating a safer, more supportive world for our Canadian youth. And I'm so grateful to have her here today. Laura and I have had the honor of connecting through our shared experiences and desire to spark change through story and truth. She's also kindly invited me to be the keynote speaker for her Youth Matter Canada Fall Symposium, which I'm incredibly excited about. And we'll talk more on that soon. For now, let's dive into our journey, advocacy, and all the ways we are turning pain into purpose. So, welcome, my friend Laura.
Oh my gosh, I had to try not to tear up when you were saying those things. Sometimes we just are like, when we hear things about ourselves, it just stops us in a track a bit because we're just, we do what we do because we love it and it lights us up. But when you hear it back, sometimes you're like, wow, yeah, I guess I've been doing that.
Yeah, I know I've like through podcasting and like being a guest as well. I it like the intros are so interesting to me because I love like there's some people that ask me to like send them like a quick little like bio, right? So I kind of got to write about myself in third person for them to read. And then there's some that have like, like I like to create it on my own and dig a little deep like and you can always like fill in if I missed anything, but I kind of like to create it for
Now you
you.
nailed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
No,
Oh,
I'm
eh
honored that you invited me to come on and to share, yeah, the vision and mission and kinda how I got to all of that.
yeah,
So thank you
yeah,
so much.
definitely. I wanted to start by telling our Beyond Brave listeners, like, have you tell them a bit about who you are, your background, and the things you're currently working on.
Well, you mentioned, pain to purpose, and I'm really glad that that was like an anchor statement in there because I think we all have those pain to purpose moments. Beyond Brave is an example of that. This podcast, right, where you continue to show up in this brave space and to continue the legacy that Bella and your family started to inspire other people to step into courage. And so we often, I think, get to our purpose not because we necessarily chose that path, but that path chose us. And so I kind of have one of those stories. And I say that sometimes I find myself downplaying it and diminishing it and saying, like, it's not as bad as, it wasn't as traumatic as. And then I catch myself because I once read this book. And it was the author of the book was one of the last remaining survivors of Auschwitz. The name of the book is The Gift, and it is a phenomenal book. And she now lives in the United States, and she's become a psychologist, and she works with people in all types of trauma. And she said, pain is pain, and when we start to rate pain, then we diminish our own experience, and then we don't show up. For the best parts of ourselves to heal that pain. So, my pain to purpose story started as I say it's a frying pan moment. I was an autopilot. I was a mom of 2 small children under the age of 6. I was a teacher. I was co-running, my ex-husband's business at that time with him. I was in sales. I was like a coach. I was a mentor. I mean, I was in all the things, and I remember I used to think that it was like a badge of honor that I could say I was doing all those things and checking off all those boxes. I think as women, we're often programmed to be people pleasers and nurturers, and so wherever we see a fire we can put out, right? Or
Yeah,
somewhere we can lean in and be a healer, we're like, "I'm in," and then we don't recognize that that can compromise some of the things that are happening within, the 4 walls of our own home, but I found myself, in this painful pivot where I was happily, quote unquote, married to all of a sudden separated and moving towards divorce with 2 small children. I think my son was about 2.5 at the time, and my daughter was 6. And in my book, I write about the moment where we called her upstairs to tell her the news that we would be separating. And life is made up of insignificant moments, one to the next, but there are, a whole lot of significant moments, and some of those moments are etched like concrete timestamp, and you know that well, where
mhm,
your nervous system will take you back immediately to that moment in time, and you might not be able to verbalize it and talk about it, but your body sure as heck can feel it. Like, I can
mhm,
feel it now. Like, I can hear it in my voice, I can feel it in my heart, I can feel it in my shoulders, and I'll never forget us calling her up the stairs, and, she's a little empath, and she knew because, I mean, kids who come from divorced homes, the divorce doesn't just happen overnight. There are
it's
things that lead to that.
It's crazy everything you're saying right now. It's like you're describing my exact childhood. I was 6 when my parents divorced, and I can feel everything your daughter is going through, I think, a little bit right now. Yeah.
I forgot that when we talked the first time that we found that we had that in common, that I was like the mother
Yeah.
in this situation, you were the child, and so, wow, that's so synchronistic. So you were probably feeling it too and going back to that timestamp. And she had curly hair just like you, and she came up the stairs and she could sense it, like, she could feel the heaviness, and we sat her at the table and, like, she knew, without saying that something that was coming was gonna completely change the trajectory of her life, and it was the most difficult moment. I'm not going to speak for my ex-husband, but I would
Mhm.
say that, it was one of the most difficult moments in my life, and I would guess his as well. And we all have, like, life before a time-stamped moment and life after. And I say this, and again, this is my perception, and I don't wanna speak for my daughter, but I would say that that spark and glow in her eye as a young, innocent child never quite came back the same way. Do
Mm.
you feel like can you resonate with that as a child who's gone through
It's
divorce?
it's so interesting. I can a little bit. I've always been so optimistic, and it's crazy when you described rating our pain, because through Bella's entire life it was like, okay, I'm living in hospital. I don't get to go home. My child is suffering through multiple surgeries, but it's not as bad as the child in the PICU. It's not as bad as the
Mm,
mom that I just sat beside wailing who lost her baby. It's not as
mm,
bad. And now I'm in that spot. And I've been in that spot that people say, "Oh, well, like my own husband, he's like, my parents, his parents are celebrating their 50th, and he's like, I've never had to go through
mhm,
divorce. My parents divorcing, and it's just like sometimes I think when it happens so young, like when you're that age, you don't have the capacity to go through all these different scenarios. Like, oh, it's not as bad as, right?
right,
It's really bad in that moment because that's all you know. That's the highest level of pain right then and there, and that's why it's stamped
yeah.
on you so hard in that moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I have such a good relationship with my dad and my mom, and we've all worked on healing from it, and I think that's really, really helped.
Yeah, and that kind of was the path for us as well. And everyone's story is different, and there's layers and nuances, and some things we share publicly, and some things we don't. Some things we carry on our heart for a long time without people really knowing the ins and outs. And I always say, and I think I said it in my book. There's three sides to every story. In my case, I think there was four. There was my side, there was his side, there was the kid's side, then there was the community's side. There are lots of people weigh in when there's things that happen in a small town. And I think, yes, like for me, the road to mental health advocacy wasn't planned, it wasn't purposeful. It happened as a result of me spiraling into, I'd say, a pretty deep depression. Before that, I had no idea what depression felt like. I've been a high functioning, anxious person most of my life without actually knowing that's what I was. But that sent me. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't want it at that time. I worked really hard to try to repair and to keep the family unit together. But I say now, like it was a blessing, like a lesson and a blessing. And it sent me on this path of mental health advocacy as I tried to like heal the parts of myself that were wounded. And I think that's a journey that keeps going on and on. And as I saw my kids kind of go through it, and I saw other, kids that I was teaching and everything that kids handle in their lives. Man, we just like the whole kids are resilient. Well, they can be, but it's not without a cost. I mean, they
Mhm.
carry a lot on their heart and in their little invisible backpacks. And I think that as an educator, I just spent a lot of years watching kids go through a lot of hard things. And
And they keep it,
so
yeah, they keep it so inside, and we as elders, older, that we got to realize they need the grace and they need the time to collect those tools, whether we're giving it to them, whether we're helping them find it. They need that time and grace to even get the tools to have that mental health support in their
yeah, and
toolbox.
the ability to put words to their pain, the
Mhm.
ability to, have people hold space and acknowledge and validate their pain. And I think that's what, Bella and your journey did so well and continues to do so well is that you give other people permission to share their own pain and say like, yeah, gosh, I am struggling too, and this is hard for us too. So I want to say, like, I mean, you both have championed and continue to champion this whole mental health mission to support families and that are going through hard things, whether what that hard thing be.
Well, and I hope, like, the way I see it is when I think about turning pain into purpose, I see the part of someone who has been there and
Mhm.
making that so valid for someone else who's suffering. it's going to be hard for them to get the tools to support themselves if they don't find anyone, if they can't confide in anyone who's been there, who gets it, who truly gets it. And I wanted to be that person for them, even, and I tried to help Bella, coach her into being that person too, because we knew our story was so rare.
Mhm.
Um, but we found ourselves, she taught me how to be brave and handle that pain so that we could be those people for any youth or adult or medical mom or dad or caregiver that was looking for someone who gets it, was looking for someone who gets their pain. And I think there's a tool in that helps, that really no one else really can if they haven't really been super close to walking in their shoes. It's a little trickier, right? So I felt that.
Absolutely.
That's how I felt when I was looking for other moms and medical parents to confide in. And I mean, I have a huge, amazing, awesome community of support. But there's nothing like someone who's, you know, lived in hospital or had a child pass or had a child with a rare medical condition, right?
Yeah,
It really,
you built something that I think we all need in our own ways, is this place and space where, it is a supportive community, but there are also people within that community that have been there, and so words aren't always needed. If you've walked the path, your
mhm,
heart knows, your soul knows, and there is something to be said. I know for me too, when I meet another, mom who's navigated divorce, I'm like, "Nah." The co-parenting schedule, and us too, just much like you shared, because of a lot of the work I felt like I was committed to heal all the parts of myself I needed to, which is still ongoing. I've never arrived. I don't think any of us have. I wanted to make sure that I could still keep things as close to as normal as I possibly could, and that's a little bit of an illusion. But I mean, I have a good co-parenting relationship for the most part with their dad, and when he's sad, I'm sad. When I'm sad, he's sad. When you spend 17 years of your life with someone,
mhm.
that's a lot of time. You get to know a lot of pieces of them quite deeply, and their families. And I think one of the things that, man, if I ever pivoted to speaking on another topic, I've actually never spoken a lot on divorce or co-parenting, and ironically,
That's great.
I it's crazy. But you do see a lot of kids become, I don't know if I wanna use the word casualties of divorce, but I mean the ripple effect and the decisions that are made, and every divorce is different and every circumstance is different. So never do I wanna, like, cast judgment, but the kids really are always kind of in the middle. And so what we did with what I wanted to do with Youth Matter Canada, and it's a crazy story of how it came to be, and I'll share that if we have time. But I wanted to create a space where kids could show up and see each other, and they could feel like they had permission to share their voice and to weigh in on their own lived experiences of their mental health journey, and help them build mental health maintenance plans and tools and skills, and just look at preventative action for mental health instead of always going down the other. You mean, you're an educator, in
Yeah.
education, prevention and early intervention is everything. Somehow we've missed the mark on that with mental health. I feel there's a lot of investment that goes into the end, into the, pulling the people out of the river once they've fallen in. We wanted to give youth and families some skills and tools and the voice and the capacity to speak about it really early on.
Yeah, that's 100%. I'm in line with that. I mean, going back to when Bella was a baby, and I like she was 2 by the time we figured out all of her rare conditions, and dwarfism being one of them, and knowing that my baby is going to grow up looking a lot different, and I wanted
Mhm.
to prevent the world not understanding what she's been through. I would constantly think, and I wanted to give her the tools, the preventative tools to for her to stand up and be like, yeah, I'm happy with the way I am, joyful, I am
Mhm.
confident, I am brave. And I didn't want the world, I didn't want her, once she finally got out of hospital, to go into this world of just question after confusion. And why do you look like that? Why do you talk, but you
Right.
look like you're one? And why did you have so many surgeries? And that question that a lot of medical parents dread is, what's wrong with you, quote quote, right? Because people
Mm.
don't know or have the tools to say, um what was your life in hospital like, or have you had a surgery versus what's wrong with you, you know, and the damage that that could cause. And so in a preventative way, I'm like, I am going to teach her all of these as her superpowers and what she's been through, and to give them names, and for her to know like what, you know, how to say uh long segment Hirschsprung's disease at, you know, 5 years old, because then she can label it and not be like, my tummy is has a bad issue. You know what I mean? Like giving them the
Right.
tools. And I wanted to, in a preventative way, be like, okay, I want her strong and confident when she goes into this world, and not to just be bombarded with questions that would kill her confidence.
Yeah, and you did a magnificent job at that. I wanna share the quick story about how I first met you and Bella, because I don't think that we meet people, you know, by chance. I think that there's a purposeful alignment with every single human being that crosses our path at the right time in the right space, and I was in Saskatoon, and I was at a hotel, and I was downstairs getting coffee for my husband and I walk into the little coffee shop, and I see this, like, this bright little human dressed in pink and just bouncing around and bubbly, and then I saw you there, and I was captivated by her bubbly spirit, her humor. I just was like, you know, when you meet a soul where you're like, oh, that is a special one.
Yeah.
Like, that's a special one, and that's how I felt, and I remember I was, like, trying not to, stare in that, like, being rude, you know, and what I didn't I mean, I noticed that she was smaller, but what stood out to me first was just like, gosh, like, she is so, like, well-spoken, and she's just this bubbly, bright, and so I went upstairs with the coffee, and I said to my husband, I'm like, "I just met" didn't say a word, but, like, the 2 most incredible humans, I can't even explain it. He's like, "Oh, cool." You know, guys don't get it, right? You can't you
Yeah.
can't explain.
Whatever.
Um, yeah, and then thanks to I have to do a shout out to Jennifer Draper, who,
Yeah.
founded the Little Wonders program, who, you know, brought was a program that ran to bring medical moms together. That's then how I got to cross paths with you again, and, I had donated 50 of my books, my children's books, to all of the kids in the Little Wonders program, and I personalized, and then I got to go on the website and look at all the names, and then so I'm writing this book to Bella. I don't know who Bella is. I go through the website, I look at her picture, and I am kid you not, Kyla, I started crying.
Aw.
I was like, "Say God, the universe, whatever you believe in, you know, meant for me to meet this bright little human for a purpose." And I think that we all have those times, yeah, in life where you cross paths with people. I mean, you guys have crossed paths with some of the most phenomenal people.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to have you share that at the Youth
I
Matter
know.
Symposium with the kids,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, I'm so grateful for that moment, that chance meeting,
Yeah.
because you just never know where things are gonna go, and here we are.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a journey. I wanted to dive into, before we get to the, of course, chatting about the youth conference. Do you call it a conference or a symposium? What do you call it?
We call it a symposium, and I just pulled that word out because I wanted it to sound a little bit different,
Yeah, because for
so we
youth, it's not like sit and listen in a conference type thing, right? It's more interactive, and
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
like, they
yeah,
have some listening, like, so they'll have a keynote where they sit and listen in the big auditorium, but then there's a lot of moving around and a lot of workshops, a lot of hands-on, a lot of interactive things, so I don't know why I chose symposium. I can't even tell you what the word symposium means other than, like, coming together, I think, so, yeah, I just wanted to give it
yeah,
a different little, spin.
yeah. Okay, well, I wanted to. Oh, see, there we go. Knocked my mic over. Once of it. Once an episode, I just chucked my mic across the room. Okay, I wanted to get into your book Behind Closed Doors. I brought it downstairs with me because I've been diving into a couple different chapters, and your book. So you're the author of Behind Closed Doors, which is memoirs of motherhood, marriage, and mental health. And for those who haven't read it yet, was wondering if you could let us know like what inspired you to write it, and in after we chat about that a little bit, I'm really excited to tell you a story behind the first chapter I read. I didn't read it from the start to the end. I kind of picked one because I wanted to pick a memoir that stood out to me the most. And
Mm.
It's crazy. You'll be blown
I
away by
can't
it.
wait to hear which one. I'm in my mind, I'm like, "Which chapter is it?" Yeah, which
Oh, I'm
chapter is
excited.
it?
Okay. But yeah, first give us a little bit on what inspired you to create this book.
Well, I wanna thank you, first of all, for, inviting me to share it, because the reason why that book is such heart work for me is because of the 13 women whose stories are in it, who bravely, courageously, and vulnerably said, "Here's my story. I trust you to tell pieces of it." And the book is actually based on a movement that I created in 2018 called Strong as a Mother. And as a mom who, had navigated a lot of different paths and had kept some of my pain quiet, I knew that other moms must have been feeling the way I was feeling. And for me, connection and getting out in community and talking with people has always been a light up for me and a part of me, maintaining my own mental health. And so I created this coffee and connection series where we would get together every month and I would invite three different women to come on the panel and we'd talk about who knows what. Like, we would just sit and have coffee. There'd be 30 or 40 women, and I would interview them, be my little Oprah moment, and we would just, like, cry and laugh, and you would hear people's lived experience, and you'd walk away going, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to come back," because it was that sense of community. And I think that every one of us has a story inside of us. Like, every one of us could write a book. We all have a story inside that's worthy of sharing and has the potential to help inspire or help someone else walk through their hard things. And I wasn't ready to write my own story, my own entire story. And it was actually my husband. Honestly, he has been my second and final husband. Okay. I introduce him like that. He loves it.
Second. That's awesome.
I he loves when I do that on stage in front of hundreds of people. I'm like, "Babe, it gets a laugh, and,
Oh
you
yeah.
need to get the audience laughing." But he was the inspiration behind the first youth symposium because
Mhm.
I was, just bouncing ideas off him, and he was the one who said, "If you're not ready to tell your entire story, why don't you put together some stories from some of the women who you've interviewed and had on your Strong as a Mother series?" And it was like, "Oh, you're so brilliant." Mic drop moment. And so I reached out to, and I say this, hundreds of thousands of women have inspired me over the last, 20 years. These 13 women that I reached out to, there was just a calling on my heart that their stories were all so diverse and unique, and that somebody reading it, whether they were a mother or they have a mother, needed to read that story. And so that's how it happened. And I told pieces of my story in it, and some of those memoirs in there will rip your heart out and put it back together again. As our friend Dr. Jody Carrington says all often, they
Yeah.
really take you through a roller coaster. And I've even had corporate men, after I've done corporate speaking events, buy the book and contact me after and say, "That was a powerful book." Because
Mhm.
alongside the journey of all of these women were fathers, husbands,
Mhm.
brothers. It's not just a book for women, although the women's voices are amplified.
Yeah, exactly. So there's quite I forget how many you got here. There's like 25, 30. Um I call them chapters, but memoirs, right?
Well,
And so
there's 13 memoirs, but
okay,
25 chapters, yeah.
okay. So there's Strong as a Mother, When the Light Goes Out, Shaken Faith, One Day at a Time, We Aren't Born Mothers, We Become Mothers, Heavy Days, Heavy Hearts, All on My Own, Building Your Own Family, Wild Child, The Woman in the Mirror. So out of all reading through all these, I'm like, where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? Of course, after reading the your prologue as well. And I chose Shaken Faith. So
Mm.
this was the one that pulled me in immediately. And so I started with Camille's story.
I knew it. I knew that was the one.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So I started with Camille's story because something in me just knew it would hit close to home, and it truly did. I was shocked by the deep and almost eerie similarities between our stories. And so Camille is from Saskatchewan, like me. She comes from a strong faith background like me. She's navigated medical life with her children, trusted God through the unknown, and then just like me and my husband discovered that she and her husband were both recessive carriers of a gene. and with a 1 in 4 chance of their next child being born with a rare condition. The devastating loss of her healthy son, Charlie, is, of course, not the same as the loss of my daughter, Bella. But the grief description, she absolutely nailed it. She looked
Mhm.
into my heart and read what was written on my heart. Camille's words made me feel understood. She described the physical pain of grief in a way that was exactly how I felt, and her honesty about how her faith was shaken. It resonated with me deeply. What really hit me was how she shared her fear of losing her other children after loss. That hyper awareness and the deep anxiety is the exact way. It's the exact way, in a sense, that it changes the lens that you
Mhm.
now have as a parent, as a bereaved parent. And that's exactly how I feel with Waylon. So it was heartbreaking. It was also strangely comforting to read, and kind of like finding a kindred spirit in the pages of this book. Someone who just gets it, like I kind of touched on earlier, is something like none other. And yeah, I would just thank you, Camille,
Mhm.
for it was just amazing, her memoir.
And I will share that with her. I had like this entire book I owe to those women, um, because it's one thing to share your story with your community, to share your story, with your family. It's another thing to publish it in a book that's, gonna cross borders.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the hardest things of writing the book. I had to overcome is my own belief system about what these women's pain that's on display, and I had to look at it when I doubted myself. I remember like a week before we were ready to publish, I was in tears, and I said to my publisher, um, she helped me self-publish. She's a friend of mine. I said, I can't do it. Like I'm not. I can't. And she's like, this is yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I had to focus on exactly what just happened here, that one
Mhm.
heart saw another, and that there was the capacity for healing, that one
Mhm.
woman could lean in, one woman or man or whoever it is could lean in and say, oh my gosh, I just healed a little part of myself. I saw a little piece of myself that I haven't acknowledged yet. And that's the purpose behind the book. And I often share with the women, if I hear feedback from a particular story, hey, listen, I just heard feedback today. I want you to know that your story is changing lives. Like, thank you.
I
um,
tried to find her on social media, but I couldn't. So I was like, I
I
need to
can
tell
connect
her.
you. I'll
Oh,
connect
that's
you
so
for
sweet.
sure.
Thank
I have
Yeah.
I have learned so much. I'll say this, holding space for women and moms in the Strong as a Mother movement, I still was naive, and I was still not, aware of all of the spectrum of pain that mothers were going through, medical moms, they and also different highs and lows of journeys that just wasn't part of my experience. And so I think this book really help me also heal and learn and grow as a woman and a mother. But I will definitely connect you with Camille, because when I interviewed her, she actually came on a virtual episode of Strong as a Mother during the pandemic, because I kept going during the pandemic virtually. And
Yeah.
some of those episodes were the most powerful. There were like 70, 80 women tuned in to Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Um, and every single person who was on that Zoom, that Strong as a Mother, when Camille shared, won't forget that. Like,
Mhm.
and then I had asked her to meet me for coffee so I could collect more pieces of the story, because I didn't know her whole story. So much of what you read, I didn't know that when I asked her. I knew about Charlie, but I didn't know about all the other
Mhm.
things that she had to weigh, on her heart as a mom. And my 12-year-old son came with me that day to interview her because he was hanging out with me, and we went and we met in Tim Hortons. And you know how sometimes you think kids aren't listening?
Yeah.
Uh, but they really are. And when
Yeah.
we left, because I had a video or a little audio recorder, and when we left, we got in the vehicle, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, my heart feels." I'm gonna cry saying this. He's like, "My heart feels really heavy. How on earth can that mom continue to go forward?" At 12, and
Wow.
his capacity to be able to see that. And he comes to many of my events and hears women speak and the youth events, and I think that's a gift too that I get to give to my kids, is this ability to tune in and have the capacity to hold other people's pain and to be there and be a bit of a healer if you can on the way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, that's so sweet. I'm like, okay, where's my Kleenex here?
I know. I just
Oh,
You're right
uh,
about the grief thing, how she described it, because until you
yeah.
feel it and I haven't felt it as a bereaved mom. It's one of my biggest fears, and one of my mentors said, "You always attract the people and the stories and the clients, that mirror some of your own pain that you have to work through." And I mean, just like most moms, my biggest fear in life is the loss of a child.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think sometimes I have a hyper fixation on it, to the point where it's really not that healthy. And so when I get to become friends and hear stories and learn about grief and learn about all of that, it just helps widen my perspective as well. And I learn so much from leaning in.
Can you tell me a little bit on the creating and editing and publishing a book for someone like I've been saying this for like years, and some of my podcast listeners will be like, "You said that already," but it's like I've I've I'm just so busy and I'm so not overwhelmed, but I just put so much effort and energy into the large platforms I have on socials, that I just don't have time to write a book. But there's ways that a written book can reach people, that social media just can't. And I've
Mhm.
always been wanting to write a book. I mean, I have a ridiculous amount of journals. I just never had the energy or the time. And then social media just became this beast in my life. um,
Mm.
but like, how do you, for someone who's like scared to start, but it's a goal I have, how does that process work? Like, how do you help someone write a book who's never written a book before?
So you actually already said it. You start where you are. You've already written so many entries in a journal. Take a look at your social media posts. That's blog writing. That's writing. Where I started, honestly, with my own pieces of my story that's woven through that book comes from journal entries, comes from some of my blog writing as I was a speaker. And the stories were inspired and came from the interviews I'd already done. You're not starting fresh, you're not starting from scratch, you already have. And so it's
So
piecing some of those things together.
I have not a lot of people know this, but through Bella's first year of um in hospital, I have some tidbits here and there on Facebook, but I created a blog and I actually printed that entire blog. It's a massive binder, but I started a blog on blogspot.ca, and it's how I actually journaled her whole like first, oh, probably 1 to 5 years of life. And before I
Mhm.
started just switching right over to like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And um, I I want in a way to just be able to hand all that over to someone and have them write the book with all of my paper materials. Like, is that, you
Well,
know what I mean?
that is an option. I mean, you can do I mean, you already sound like you have a book, and it can be overwhelming to be like, "Where do I start?" But I
Yeah,
have some really great people that I can recommend who are great to walk alongside, and to help that structure. But yeah, you're definitely well on your way. It's just putting it together,
yeah.
that you just need a little
I
extra
feel like
hands on deck there.
I feel like I have the pieces. I just don't know how to put it together. And I'm definitely on that journey and I'm looking for that support. So if you know anybody, that would be amazing. I
I'll
would
put you
love to.
And we can meet for coffee sometime too. I've often had people, say, "Hey, look, can you take a look at this? What do you?" I mean, that's not a part of my business, but I love reading what other people write, and I always can align you and recommend. But you're so right. A book can reach people in a different way than social
Mhm.
media, and it just can cross borders in different ways. It's just it takes a life of its own on. You just and the beauty, the one part about it, Kyla, that I really love is the mystery behind you never really know who it's helping. Like, you never
Oh,
really
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
comments back unless they send you an email. Like, it's
Yeah.
just this silent little planting of seeds and hope that I think is just I don't know, I love the feeling of that.
Yeah, yeah. I look at it as a way to it's a way to reach someone who's just like they're not on their computer. They're not, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of family and friends that are like, I don't got social media. and they like to read. And I had never been, I feel bad saying this as like someone who's like taught English in high school, and I've never been a reader. Like I did not like reading. And so it's been hard for me to sit down and enjoy a novel without like falling asleep. So so but then there's someone like my husband who can read an entire book in like 2 days and then on to the next and on to the next, right? And so I want to meet those people too. I want to give them something as well. You've
And
also
it also
written
can be
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, it also can be like a resource for medical families, you know?
yes.
Like, there's so many things you could do with it in terms of creating it for certain audiences. I mean, yeah, it lights me up when I think about those opportunities for other people, so we definitely have to circle back to that for you.
Okay, for sure, for sure. You've also written children's books is what I wanted to touch on
Yes!
next. Yes, so, they have helped families navigate loss and grief. So I wanted you first tell me how many have you written and what is the general, topic for them? For
Okay,
each
so, my very first book, before I even wrote the adult book, my very first book, I wrote one morning at 4 in the morning during the pandemic. It was shortly after the George Floyd, murder. The world
Oh,
was awry. Like, it was probably the most for in my lifetime, the biggest feeling of instability worldwide. There
mhm,
was so much going on. And, this is how I describe it, because when I do author readings in school, kids are like, "How do you know what to write?" And I said, "It is actually quite a magical experience. For me, I call it a divine drop. It literally just downloads." So one morning, I couldn't sleep. Lots of things were weighing heavy on my heart. And I just went downstairs with my laptop. And at 4 in the morning, I wrote the entire script for what now is called Elliot's Rainbow Roller Coaster. And
yes, I have that one, yeah,
yeah, and this wasn't the first book I published,
yeah.
actually, but it was the
Oh,
first one I wrote,
okay.
and, it just, like yeah, it just downloaded, and I couldn't even really recreate it if I wanted to, that just you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think this was the first one I wrote. I can't even remember. Anyway, the stories usually listen to me, the stories just download, and all of them around the themes of supporting children and families through big
Mhm.
emotional experiences. So, Lily's Loudmouth is one of the most popular one, thousands and thousands of copies. I'll just show your listeners
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
It's about a little girl who leans into her superpower, which is her loud voice, and she changes the world through kindness and empathy, and standing up to bullies and speaking her mind, and just there's even like there's the personal touches. There's even uh, a spread in the book where, because of the George Floyd murder and what was happening, with unrest and divisiveness, there's even an actual page in the book. I don't know if you can see it. Look at me. There's a
yeah,
page in the book, yeah, where Lily is speaking, she's speaking at a rally, and there's love over hate, justice over peace. There's a lot of really, really intimate parts in the book that are from my own understanding of how the world was working at the time, and some of pieces of my own personal story. So Lily's Loudmouth is about a little girl. Her superpower is her loud voice, inspiring kids to lean into their superpowers, and that, being different is a superpower. And then I wrote Lily's Heavy Heart, which is a book about navigating loss and grief, starting conversations with kids in those beginning years. If they lose a pet, if they lose a grandparent, and for some kids, the grief is so much deeper. They lose, a sibling, or they lose a parent. And this book has been in a lot of homes that have had a lot of sadness, and it's been a tool to help give a voice to that sadness. And interestingly enough, I often try to not avoid, but I don't read this book first in author readings. And if there isn't a counselor present, I won't read it at all. But when I do read it, Kyla, and I
mhm.
ask the kids which one of these three was your favorite, they love them all. But this one, they often say was their favorite.
Aw,
The
they
book
can
about
feel
grief and
yeah.
sadness. Yeah, that they could put a voice to it. So I've written 3. Lily is a dynamic character, and she has now a 3rd book coming out in her series. So there's Lily's Loud Mouth, Lily's Heavy Heart, and the next one coming out this fall is called Lily's Magnificent Mind, which comes from our own journey as a family navigating neurodiversity and ADHD. with our son and also, throughout our family. And in that book, it brings light to brains being different and how different is a superpower. And so I'm really excited about that one coming out.
I'm excited to can you give us, is there any insight into why you chose the name Lily?
Um, it's I wanted to have something that was close to my name, and I couldn't say Laura's
Oh,
Loudmouth because literally the first
yeah,
book, Lily's Loudmouth, is me. The character looks like me. When people who know me from my childhood are like, "That's you, girl. That's you."
that's awesome.
So I just chose Lily, it's just one of
Yeah,
those things, but Elliot, that character is based on, my grandmother. Her name was Ellie, and my son's middle name is Elliot, and inside the books, one of the special touches that I have, it's my signature as an author, is I hide tiny little ladybugs for the kids to find, and
yeah.
the ladybug is a remembrance of my own grandmother who passed, who never got to read a book that I wrote, but she's the inspiration behind it. She always used to love to bring joy to kids, and so now she still does, from above by, being a little ladybug that these kids can look for.
Oh, that's Waylon's favorite part of all. Like he loves finding in that one.
Yeah.
There's another book we have that has ladybugs and bumblebees you get to find throughout the book. And he loves his dad's book that he had as a kid, Cars and Trucks and Things That Go, and you got to
Oh,
find
I love
gold bug.
that book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to find gold bug throughout there. Those are the
love it.
best. Yeah, Where's Waldo? We usually read Where's Waldo for bed. It's awesome.
Do you know what
Okay, so
my
I want
kids found today? Do you know what my kids found today? I wanna say this because your listeners, some of them, if they're our age, they will know. So, my mother-in-law kept everything. She's from the never threw anything out. So, we found, my husband's old collection of the Highlight magazine. Do you remember the Highlight magazine?
Oh, yes. Yep, I do. Yeah,
And
I
my
do.
7-year-old is in heaven. It's just like he loves them.
My dad used to order on what do you call it? On subscription. I'd always get the National Geographic, like, for kids, and I
And there
love
was, like,
that. Get
Chickadee, I
chick
think, was a
Yep,
magazine too.
yep. I
Like,
got
I think we
Chickadee
gotta
a lot.
bring those back. We gotta bring those back.
Okay, so I wanted to chat with you about Youth Matter Canada. So you founded it, and which is such a needed and impactful initiative. And I wanted to give you a chance, of course, to tell us, the heart behind it, how it began. You had mentioned earlier there's quite the story behind that. So I wanted to give you a minute to let us know that story.
Yeah, and I again so grateful that you invited me on your platform to share this because I know that you have followers that go far and wide, and we want this message to go far and wide. And behind every impactful organization is an impactful team. So although I might have had like the spark of idea one day driving, on a road trip with my husband, saying I really want to put together a convention style event for kids for mental health, and he's like, "Well, just do it." To finding the team, which was some of my former students and individuals from the area. I live around Melfort, so healthcare workers and educators and social workers, and putting that team together, who just volunteered copious amounts of hours to really build in this vision and mission of supporting youth mental wellness. And so it never started as an idea to start a nonprofit. Not at all. What happened was once we had that first symposium and we had 300 kids from like 10 different communities come, it was magic, and afterward, the kids and the teachers and the parents were like, "When are you doing another one?" Like, that was amazing. We had phenomenal speakers and workshops and facilitators, and, I had, we had a very limited budget that year, just people who trusted me from the community who was like, "Here's our money. We trust you're gonna do good with it." Because I wasn't a nonprofit then, I was just still a business owner in the wellness space. And then the pandemic hit. So we hosted our first symposium in 2019. Then the pandemic hits, and everyone's lives are now no longer anything like we know it. And kids, there's a lot of fear in, kids, there's a lot of uncertainty, unknowns. And then we were like, well, we have to continue this conversation. Like, kids now can't do sports, they can't see their friends, they can hardly even see family members, they can't go to school, they're online every day. This is not a good recipe for, good mental health. So we
Yeah.
started a peer support online program called Teen Talk Tuesday that we ran
Wow.
every Tuesday for almost 2 years. And
Wow.
we would invite different speakers and like like celebrities, local celebrities from Saskatchewan on, and we gathered over 100 youth who would come on, and not all at once, but who'd subscribe and tune in. And it was that, like, that one piece of certainty in a very uncertain time. They knew they could come online at 7 o'clock every Tuesday night, and we would have a social worker and counselor there. I would be there, our team would be there would be other youth, and you could put a voice to some of the things they were going through. From that, I was like, well, we should probably maybe start an organization. There's other things we can do. And then the snowball just went from there. And so now we have touched the lives of, tens of thousands of kids in various communities across the province through our school education initiative called Be Kind to Your Mind, where our team will go in and educate and share their lived experience and help kids learn to build mental health maintenance plans and skills and tools, and to speak up and reach out if they're struggling. We have some peer support programs. So we still run Teen Talk Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month. And we run a parent support group. We've piloted that, and then we also do it's called a Look Up campaign now, where we're educating kids on online harm prevention and cyber safety, and the impact of excessive time spent online, on the mental health and interactional health of kids. So there's a lot of things that we do, and then hosting this symposium. We're hosting it in Melfort this year again, our fifth annual one. And then, thanks to my friend Shaylin Taylor, who's found some money, because if you find
Oh,
money, I can help you spend it.
I'm still looking. No, I'm just kidding.
So she's gonna help us host. It'll be the first time in 5 years that we host our symposium in a second location somewhere else in the province. So
Oh,
she has found some big funders there, and so we get to go down south now and invite, schools from around Moose Jaw to come in. So that's in a nutshell of what we do, just creating spaces and opportunities and places for kids to connect and support mental wellness.
oh, that's awesome. Okay, so yeah, you're coming closer to Swifty here near Moose
I am.
Jaw. Oh,
Mhm.
that's really good. Okay, so for our listeners, how can they support you? Like, where can they find you? How can they support if they're listening right now and they're like, okay, I want to get on board and I want to learn more?
So the easiest way to support us is to share our platforms, to
Okay.
go on to Instagram, which is one of the main platforms that we share all of our programs and our mission and our vision. So it's at Youth Matter Canada. So just going on and sharing the platform, I mean, we would love to expand that audience, for sure. If they want to tune in for their youth or their families, there are places then, if they go to youthmatter.ca on the website, they can see some of the initiatives we're doing, because that's our hope, right? To hit as many households and families as we can with this support, to fill in the gaps that kind of exist in our systems, to create some peer support and some community. And then, obviously monetarily and financially, like if you are a business owner and you've got some, sponsorship dollars to spend, I don't mind taking them
Yeah,
and putting them
exactly.
toward, a great cause, where whether you support one of our symposiums, or you support our Look Up campaign, or you support our Teen Talk Tuesday. We are not provincially or federally funded from the government as of yet. It's something that I continue to try to advocate for, to get some consistent funding. Like most small nonprofits, we run year to year depending on fundraisers, and we are largely funded by the Community Initiatives Fund. They've funded a lot of our school education programs. And if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, how can we get you to come to our community in Saskatchewan? Just send me an email to connect@youthmatter.ca. We are always having those conversations of how we can bring our programs and our teams, all throughout Saskatchewan.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, because so like typically yearly you have the symposium in Melfort, which is where
Mhm.
I'll have I'll be able to be the
You'll
keynote
be
speaker.
coming.
Okay. So, for all of us listening, especially those who want to support you, what else is there besides magnificent keynote speakers? What's a little like sneak peek into what their support actually does for the youth that attend? what goes
You
on?
bet. You bet. So to run, I'll just be I'm always super transparent. To run a symposium like that where there's absolutely zero cost to the schools or kids and the best experience we can give them on, a fairly ideal budget, it costs between 15 and $20,000.
Mhm.
And that gives us t-shirts, that gives the kids a lunch, that gives the kids swag bags with mental health tools. That helps to give honorariums to our social workers and counselors who show up, our facilitators, our dancers, our musicians, the people who are coming to volunteer, and are doing it at a cost much less than they would if they were, going somewhere else to perform or to show up or to facilitate. And so we have the rental of the space. I mean, we have, all of those things that have to come together to put on a great experience for the kids. We are lucky, Blue Cross has been so great to us. They have helped to fund our symposium every year as well. And we have a local business here who did a big fundraiser. So we are always blessed by the generosity of people who believe in supporting mental health for youth and families, because we do know that dollars are stretched, right now. And it's hard to support everything that you want to support. But those are all ways, in which we can support that symposium.
Yeah, there's so much needed. There's a lot of work to do, and it's 100% worth it. And I'm really happy to share it, and I hope we can bring a lot more support for that coming up this year for you guys.
Well, I'm so appreciative of that because we have had schools and families say, "Can you come do a symposium in Saskatoon? Can you come
Mhm.
do one in Swift Current? Can you come do one?" And I said, "I can bring the team. I will bring the blueprint. I will run the show. I just need the money."
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So, but yeah, I am. Once you experience it, Kyla. Honestly, every keynote speaker who's come has been like, "I want to come back."
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited. So finally, I wanted to touch a little bit on Heart Talk. So you also host Heart Talk podcast, and I've had the honor of joining you for episode 47, Choosing Hope Through Heartbreak. So what led you to start the podcast? I want to connect a little bit about our similar podcast journeys. But yeah, what sparked you to start that?
Well, probably my ADHD and, the fact that, I was like bright shiny object. No, I slowed down on doing in-person events because it was starting to come at a cost, more of a cost than I wanted to give up. And, but I didn't wanna stop talking about the things that mattered most to me and connecting with people and sharing stories because storytelling is so incredibly powerful. And I was like, "Listen, if I can just hop on a camera and a Zoom and I can interview someone from anywhere in the world and I can share that out and put that out on a podcast platform that changed lives, I'm in.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'm not as fancy as some podcasters, and I don't even show up every week. Typical Laura fashion with sometimes you start things and you're like, I missed a couple weeks. But I'll tell you this, when we do show up on Heart Talk, whether it's a solo episode from me, like a quick solo episode, or whether I'm hosting incredible guests like yourself, and people from all around the world, it's time well spent. I'll say that. It's
Yeah.
just time well spent. It's heart work. It's just part
Yeah.
of my heart work.
There's always been, I know for me, podcasting, I jumped on it like even before, like I mentioned before, I got to start a book. Nope, going in the podcast route. It's just easier, but there's something about it with the storytelling, especially, that
Mhm.
is just so much easier to let the words flow versus typing something up or writing something down or creating a reel or creating a video. It's just so personable, and I just find a lot of value in that, and that, like, I love listening, I love being a guest, and I love being a host. It flows a lot easier than most things I do, I think.
Yeah, you're
So,
so right. It's
yeah.
personable because it brings that human element. Because even though we're virtually connecting, I can still see your face, you can see mine. We can
Yeah.
still read body language, we can still, share emotion. And I'm so with you on that. It just brings the personable element to the human experience.
So before I close, is there and before I close with two special questions I have for you, but is there anything else you wanted to mention that we didn't get a chance to talk about today? And my
I think
tummy's growling. Did you
so
hear
is mine. That was mine too.
I had
Listen to this.
breakfast.
We're like, "We gotta go have breakfast, girl."
Second
I
breakfast.
you are a phenomenal podcast host. Like, you have your poop in a group. So I wanna say shout out. I think we covered everything.
Oh,
And
awesome.
whatever we didn't cover, it's probably in the book. No.
Okay. Okay, good, good. Okay, I'll go on to my questions for you. So, if you could leave our listeners with one reminder today, what would it be?
Oh gosh. So this is a quote that came from this popped in immediately. There are so many great quotes that I use during my darker days and words of inspiration, but one day at a time.
Mhm,
Honestly, like, that is the thing that popped in for me, and I have that quote. My grandmother, my Oma, who is very faith-based as well, "Lord, give me the courage just to take one day at a time," and I think I have that on somewhere in our house, because sometimes we can't see sometimes it's like 1 hour at a time.
oh,
Sometimes a day is even and you know this better than I do,
yeah,
Sometimes it's like the next 10 minutes, like, let's just get through the next 10 minutes. And I just think keep holding on to hope. We can find it in some of the most interesting places.
mhm,
Um, it carries us through. It carries us through.
that's right. And lastly, can you share with everyone what being brave means to you?
Oh my gosh. Being brave means feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And being brave often means digging into not always the best parts of myself, and doing the work, that sometimes gets messy and ugly, and, to me, that's what bravery is sitting through some of that hard stuff that we often try to avoid, and I wanna say, like, I am incredibly grateful that you invited me to be on this platform. I am so deeply inspired by the heart work that you do and the ripple effect that Bella has created and that you continue to create. That's our life's work. Like, what
Mhm,
else is there?
yeah.
What else is there if we're not reaching hearts and changing lives that way? I don't know what else there is. So thank you so, so much.
Oh, that's 100% spot on, and you are more than welcome, and thank you as well. Um, so Laura, like I just said, I want to thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, your mission with us today. You truly embody what it means to lead with love and to lead
Mm.
with purpose. And for all of you listening, don't forget that you can find Laura on socials at It's Laura Lawrence on Instagram and like she had mentioned earlier on Instagram at Youth Matter Canada. You can also check out her podcast titled Heart Talk on all major podcast channels. So be sure to check those out, please. And to our listeners, thank you for continuing to show up with us with open hearts. And we will see you next time on Beyond
Mm.
Brave.
Thank you so much. This is
Of
how I end it always.
Oh, I love it. The heart.
Do a
Yeah.
little heart. Do a
Our
little heart.
our millennial hearts. Are you
Yeah.
an elder millennial like me? I
Well,
cannot for the life of me do that weird one they do with like their
w
middle finger.
what is that? I don't know what I do, I just do all
Or
of
no,
them.
they do like this one, like the new generation. I can't even if you're watching on
Look at
YouTube.
us.
We're like
This will be an outtake, we're like,
it looks like we're in a finger trap. Like
just doing finger puppetry with Kyla.
they do like this weird like
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is.
I mean, what's better than this when you just do
Nothing.
typical
N
millennial
n
heart,
nothing.
right? Like get out of here with your weird finger. What is even it? Gen Z, what are you doing? You guys need to give it like a tutorial on how to even do it because I
How to
can't.
even do it. I don't even know what I am. I was born in '79, so I don't know what that makes me, other than old, but,
Oh, wait a minute,
uh
you're Gen X, isn't it? Because I'm 83, and I
oh,
think
you're the same
80
age as Al. Okay.
yeah, I think 80 oh, I hope I get it right, but I thought it was like 1980 was like the cutoff.
Oh, so I'm just on the brink.
I think you're on the brink. Yeah. Either one, we could like claim you, Gen X or millennials. We could
All
go.
I know is don't you think they should really bring back the '90s? Like, that our kids really should be able to experience that?
Oh
Like, I
yeah,
don't
I was like, yeah, I was like childhood to teens in the 90s is the best. Yeah,
like, there's nothing better.
yeah.
Nothing better.
Yeah, it was so free going. The other day, it's crazy you say that. The other day, I was just like, my mom, like we live on an acreage, but like for Wayland, but Like, I remember in the home I grew up with, and it would be like, I'd be gone all day, like, on my bike, I'd
Mhm.
be ripping around the back alleys, I'd be ripping it down like, miles from my house, I'm ripping around the city on my bike, and my mom didn't have any idea where I was, like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and that's
Like,
the best.
that's the way it was. Yeah.
I say that to when I speak in schools, I say to the kids when I do my tech talk, I'm like, "You guys don't even know how good it was to not know where people knew where you were." Like,
Yeah,
you don't cops never knew. They didn't shut down pit parties 10 minutes in because they had no clue where we were. But
yeah,
y'all put it on the Snapchat and then there they are. They show
yeah.
up.
And you got your watches, you don't know how to put on ghost mode on Snapchat, so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, that's where you are." Exactly.
Like, you guys are missing out on the day where you had to find a payphone at 2 in the morning and phone your mom collect because you had no money to come pick you up from God knows where at some lake.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
That was my life.
The best, the best. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll let you go. We